As I said, we were in the warehouse, and we were still looking for an apartment. And, you know, we were confident we'd find something even though it was summertime, and it was a small town. So we started making appointments to visit various apartment complexes. And there was nothing in the paper. There was no houses available for rent or anything like that. What we were looking for was about 2 bedrooms with a large space that we could basically convert into a 3rd bedroom. Because that's what we had in California. We would always convert the larger space if we didn't have 3 bedrooms. The first apartment we didn't. We converted the living room space into a bed space. So we started looking at apartments. And nothing was working. It was either too small, or it smelled weird, or at one point we were going, the apartment was upstairs, and my friend was going up the stairs, and they were really small, narrow, very extremely angled stairs, and she was going up the stairs, and there was no balustrade to hold on to or anything, and she turns and she looks down at me like, oh my God, these stairs, we're done. We're not doing these stairs. But she doesn't say anything. She's like, yeah, kind of steep stairs. And I'm like, mm-hmm. When we got upstairs to this apartment, there was sign of there had been bugs in there fairly recently, which is not a good sign. And, I mean, the smell wasn't too bad, but there was a stain on the floor. And I'm not talking a little stain like this on the carpet. I'm talking a stain about this big in the middle of the carpet with smaller stains of about yay big scattered around. And they told me they said to us that they had cleaned the carpet, but they were having a little problem getting that stain out. Okay. It was a brown stain. Didn't quite look like a blood stain. I mean, I could have dealt with that had it been like, you know, a dead body had been there. But the smell was more animal. So we kind of suspected it was animal related, the stain. And as we moved around the apartment, we smelt more animal. Dog or cat or urine, feces, something like that. And we were just like, we just kept making eye contact with each other going, not this place, no, not this place. And she kept insisting like this was a really good deal. And that was the attitude. It was like every place we went to was like, we're missing out on a deal if we don't just come back there today and snatch it back up before someone else takes it. So we kept looking. And we kept checking the paper, and we kept calling back the apartments complexes like every other day. Have you had an opening? Is there any apartments available? And a week went by, and we couldn't find any place. In the interim, we did not have a shower, and we were working and sweating profusely in a warehouse with no air conditioning. The only room that had air conditioning was the actual office, but we weren't working in the office, we were working out in the warehouse. It was, we were washing up as best we could in the bathroom, but we needed a shower. Our hair was greasy and dirty, and it was just, it just wasn't working. It just was not working. So I think it was about day 3 or 4, I had an idea. My friend had been saying to me, she had been dreaming of showers. She woke up in the morning and she was telling me about her dream of a luxurious shower. She's like, I can't take this. I need a shower. I'm starting to dream about them. This is crazy. Now, you may wonder if we thought about going to a gym. Well, there wasn't a gym anywhere. There only was one YMCA. And the YMCA wanted $70 a person for a membership to be able to use their showers. And after she was telling me about dreams of showers, I started thinking. I started looking online and maybe we could get a camping shower. So I spent about 2 hours looking at all these camping things, and I said, I could do better than that and make one. And I actually said this out loud. I said, I could make a better camping shower than they're trying to sell me here for like $150 online. And she looked at me and she's like, you can make a shower? I said, yeah. Yeah, I can make a shower. Now, like we could, after you were done with it, we wouldn't have to wait to use it? No, we probably can make it immediately. I can make it and you could use it tonight. We're leaving now, we're going to Lowe's. Okay, so we go to Lowe's. So we went to Lowe's and I got a bunch of PVC piping and connectors and 6 mil black plastic for the walls, some zip ties. I didn't get any glue because yes, I was being cheap, and I had every intention of, after we were done and had our apartment, I would take back the parts that I could take back, all the connectors and whatever, and bring those back to the store and return them. Obviously couldn't return the pipe because I had cut it down to size, and so I made a shower stall, a frame basically. It was about 6.5 feet tall. I took the black plastic, ran it around the outsides, zip tied it in place, made it that the opening down the middle, like it would open out, actually it overlapped, so you could have privacy as you went in and out, and it would close back up again. In the back of the warehouse, there was a back door, and we normally just kept it open to get air circulation, and it was 3 concrete steps going up to that door. We initially put my frame out there, my shower frame, and we had it out in the grass, in the dark. Like we waited till sundown came, so we didn't have any neighbors, but the road that we were on continued down up the hill a little further, and we'd on rare occasions see a car go down there. There was a business that was down there, a plumbing supply place, I think, and a residential, but it was way down the road, you couldn't even see it. And our other neighbors were the back, facing the front of our building, across a little bit of a stone parking lot, pebble area, was the back of a 4 or 5 store strip mall. So it was, we hardly ever saw our neighbors. They just would come out the back occasionally. They didn't even park in the back. They parked in the front, where the parking lot was in front of the strip mall. And occasionally you'd see a car in the back throwing garbage, but that was about it. We tried it out in the grass, and that didn't work very well because we made a muddy mess, and you were standing in mud from the garden hose would be our shower head. Went and got a head that it was a wider head on the garden hose, so it could kind of fake it like a shower head. You hung it over the top, and I put a rubber band on the handle so you would squeeze, so it would turn on, and then you could just hook it up there. Yes, the water was cold, but after sweating in the hot high 90s, almost 100-degree July weather, it was beautiful. We were in nirvana. It felt like you could hear anybody who was in there going, oh my God, it's wonderful. All of us made noises. Initially we had the door open and we just had it out there in the dark. And but after the first time in the mud, we decided, I decided, why don't we just put it on that first step. It was just big enough to handle it. And we just sat there, and this way the water could just go down the steps, and we didn't have to be dragging in. You could be standing in your flip-flops or whatever, or barefoot, and you wouldn't have to worry about tracking mud back into the warehouse or having mud all over your feet from coming back in after having the shower. You could just put your flip-flops right there, step out of them, take your little shower, put your towel on, step out of it, step back into your flip-flops. Beautiful, perfect. We were so happy. We were now happy with each other. We weren't so uncivilized as it had been. And we kept looking for, it revived us. And we kept looking for apartments. So now we were at the end of week 2. We still hadn't found an apartment. We were calling again every day, calling. No openings, no apartments. Nothing. By the end, halfway through the second week, her bosses were calling her. And they wanted to know, had we found a place yet? Because they were afraid of us getting them in trouble with the lease, because we weren't supposed to officially be living there. It wasn't a residential lease, it was a commercial lease. And no one's supposed to be living there. And we were trying to explain to them, yes, we were looking for a place, we're just not having very good luck. They had insinuated that we were just hanging out in the warehouse to save money so we wouldn't have to spend money on rent on an apartment, which was something we had thought of maybe on day 2 or 3, but after being no shower, no nothing, dying of the heat, all living in one little room together, that idea went out the window after about day 2 or 3. We're like, no, we're not doing this. We have to find an apartment. Finally, Wednesday came, and we had promised on Tuesday night, like, we got to go out, we got to find again. We got to go outside and start looking again and try to find an apartment. Because phone calls and looking around, we just were not having any luck. So Wednesday morning dawned, torrential downpours. On one hand, we were like happy because we had hardly saw rain in California. But on the other hand, it kind of made us go, oh God, this is not a good sign. Oh my God, we're not going to find anything. But we were like, okay, let's go out. We got to get out of this place before we go crazy. So we got into the car. We came down the hill, got back onto Main Street. We went a couple hundred feet, and to the right there was about 4 or 5 houses before you went more commercial again. And as we were going past, I glanced out the window and I saw a sign, and through the sheeting rain it said "For Rent." And I went, did you see that? She's like, what? I'm trying to drive here. What was I supposed to see? I just saw a sign, it said "For Rent." What? She says, you saw a sign? Where? Where'd you see the sign? I said, right back there. Make a U-E, turn around, let's go look at the sign. She makes a U-E. We go back, we get up, we pull over to the side of the road, and on the third house, there was a sign out front that said "For Rent" and a phone number. We scribbled down the phone number and we called them up. And yes, it was for rent. It was a little more expensive than we were interested in, but we were like, can we see it today? And they're like, oh, we can't do today. How about tomorrow? Okay, fine, sure, yeah, we would like to look at it, please. So we went down to the rental place. They brought us to the place. It was an older house, 2 bedrooms, and a large space, which was living room, dining room area, which was the entire front of the house. Very good. New carpeting, no weird smells. It just smelled like an old house. Any evidence of bugs was very, very old, which meant, they hadn't had bugs there in at least a few years. And painted, new air conditioning unit, actually central heating and air, which was awesome. And we were just like, this is it, we got it. And she felt good about it, I felt good about it. We were like, where do we sign? We signed the papers, and then they told us we couldn't move in till we got the utilities put in our name. They had previous bad experiences, so my landlord's policy was, you go down to the utility place, you get them in your name, you bring us back a paper that says everything's good and proof that you would put it in your name and whatever. Show him that, and then he would hand over the keys. So we showed up at this utility place in the morning, and the lady behind the counter had some questions. We had decided we were going to put the utilities in my name because that's the way we had it in California. And after I filled out all the paperwork, the lady says to me, have you ever been late been late paying your bill? I'm not sure, I say. Now this may seem like an odd question to say to the lady, I'm not sure, but there's a reason for that. The last place we lived at in California was West Sacramento, which is PG&E, is the utility company, Pacific Gas and Electric. And when I had received the first bill from them, there wasn't a date when it was due. It just said now. And I had never seen that before. I was used to where, you know, they would have, you know, pay this bill by. And so I was really curious about that. So I called them up and I said, you know, I received your bill. There's no due date on it. When is it due? And the first young lady I spoke to was like, oh, whenever. What? What do you mean? What do you mean whenever? Oh, just pay it whenever you want to. What? This is absurd. I'd never heard of such a thing. I mean, back in New York, if you're a couple of days late, they're calling you, well, at least back then, they would be calling you wondering why you had not paid the bill. And so I said, this is weird. So I called back the next day and I got a different representative and I said, I received your bill. There was no date on it. When is this due? Well, whenever you want to pay for it, he says to me in a wonderfully cheery Californian way. And I'm like, okay, I don't quite understand that. What do you mean whenever I want to? Well, we're really more concerned about you just paying it. The only time we really get concerned is when it's going to be, if you're like 2 or 3 months late, then it's a problem. But before that, it's not a problem. So pay it whenever when you can. What? No way. What? So I usually paid it about a week after I got it, still within the same month. But since I couldn't get them to tell me when the billing cycle date was, like it didn't tell you like between this date and this date was the billing, there was nothing on the bill that said that, I didn't quite know when the new cycle started over. So I'd pay it before the month ran out. So if I got it like the second week of the month, I'd pay it before the end of the month. Usually the third week. So fast, now in the present, we're in Kentucky and she's asking me, have I ever paid the bill late? And I'm telling the lady, I have no idea. And she looks at me like I'm some sort of miscreant. She's an older lady and she's just looking at me through her little, no joke, cat eye glasses. And she's like, you don't know if you've ever paid your bill late. How could you not know you didn't pay your bill late? It's California, I say. You know, they do things different there. And she's just staring at me like, I find that hard to believe, that you don't know when if your bill was paid late or not. I'm like, why does this matter, ma'am? And she explains, if I've paid it late, if only once, I have to pay a $200 fee, a startup fee. If I was never late, I don't have to pay the fee. I tell the lady, I said, I don't think I have. And she's like, well, I need this paper. This paper, what kind of paper do you need? It's some kind of paper printout thing that I had never ever heard about, that she said that she was surprised I had never heard of it before. It's standard policy to have one of these things when you start up utilities. And it basically says, from the previous company, had you or had you not paid your bill on time. As I said, I'd never heard of this thing in New York, and I'd rented my entire life. Call up PG&E in California, and I explain the situation, and I tell them that the lady wants this paper. The gentleman that I'm talking to has no idea what she's talking about. He's never heard of this paper. He doesn't know. He's like, can I just talk to her on the phone? I can tell her if you paid your bill late or not. Oh, cool. So I bring the phone over. I say, ma'am, I have a representative of my previous utility company. I have PG&E on the phone. He wants to talk to you. Oh, I can't talk to him. But I have him on the phone here, ma'am. No, 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 I can't talk to a representative. That's just not policy. That's not how we do things here. How do I know it's a representative of that company? Well, he wants to know, he wants to understand, ma'am, what this paper is. He's never heard of it before. How could he have not heard of this paper before? I don't know. He just said he's never heard of it and he would like you to explain it to him, and, you know, maybe you can give him a fax number and we could fax this paper over once we understand what the paper is? Maybe? She refuses to get on the phone. He's very cool about it. He's like, okay, let me talk to my manager. So he gets his manager, and now I have an older sounding gentleman on the phone who's getting really nice, and I explain the situation to him. And he's like, oh, yes, he says the name of the paper, and I said, yes, this is what she's talking about. I need to have one of those. He's like, oh, well, we don't give those out anymore. We haven't done that in years. Okay. I said, can you fax me one here, because I'm trying to turn on my electricity in, I know I'm in Kentucky now and I'd like to turn on my electricity. Well, let me talk to the representative at the utility. He says, I can vouch for you about whether you've paid your bill late or not. He's like, I'm looking at your records right now and you've not paid your bill late. Okay, fine. I go back over to the lady. I said, excuse me, ma'am. I'll wait till she's not helping someone. I said, I have a manager with PG&E and he'd like to know some specifics about this paper. He says he knows about it and he'd like to talk to you. Well, this is extremely unusual, she says. And I'm like, yes, it is, ma'am, and I appreciate you being so kind. She's like, well, I can't, there's a privacy issue. I can't be talking to him and talking about your future bill in front of everybody like this. I could put it on speakerphone. There's no one, now the last person has left the area, so it's just her and a few other workers. And I'm like, how about I put it on speakerphone? I give my authority to allow you to talk to him about my bill. Her head's shaking. She's like, oh, this isn't right. I've never done this before. This doesn't seem appropriate. Okay. I put the phone down. Before she can say anything, I put the phone down. I put it on speaker, and I go, Mr. So-and-so, this is Miss So-and-so. He says hello to her. She hesitantly says hello. I said, I give you authority to discuss my bill with her privately. I take him off speakerphone. I hand her my phone. Here, ma'am, have the conversation with him. And I step back, so I don't even interfere with this thing. I don't step back enough that I can't not hear the conversation. So she's holding the phone like this. Hello? Hello, I'm extremely sorry to have disturbed you. Yes, I have Miss So-and-so here wanting to know. They start this halting conversation, and I love holding the phone like this, like I've got some kind of, like it's an alien object. And she asks him about whether I've been late or not. And he explains to her that they have two ways of being late. One is a little late, you know, a couple of days, a week, they don't care. What they really are concerned about is a 2 or 3 month late. That's the big one. That's the one that means there's a problem. You're having a problem paying your bill, and they can refer you to some sort of services to help you pay your bill. That's the one they're really concerned about. She's never heard of this thing before. She's got pretty much the same face I've got on, and she's repeating everything back to him, so I'm hearing it, and she's like, I've never heard of such a thing. And he's like, you know, whatever. So finally she asked for like the third time, all I need to know is, has she ever been late on her bill? Yes, I was late once. And I knew when that was exactly, because it was the one time I paid the bill very close to the end of the month. So I obviously must have hit a cycle, rolling over, since I was unaware of it, because there was never any date on the bill. So she gets that information. She's thanking him. And so I have to pay the $200. Finally, but finally we can have a bill. Yes, I have to pay $200. Yes, it hurt a little bit, but we pay the $200. We get the electric bill. We get the paper that we need to show our landlord, which she knows all about. And she tells us our landlord is a very good man. He's a good Christian man. Cool. I don't care. We get the paper, the valuable paper. We bring it back to the landlord and his agent. They're very happy to see it. We've justified our existence in the world of potentially being good tenants. And he hands over the keys and we're like, yay! we can move in tonight. And that pretty much wraps up this story. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining. Please like, comment, give me some feedback, tell me how I'm doing, anything you want to hear about. I probably have a story about most things, because life's that way. Please subscribe if you can, if you're interested in wanting to hear more of my stories. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye. See you next time.